독도가 누구 나라 땅이야?
Japanese land.
What the? Speaking of ChatGPT, I asked it if it knew the edutainer Aran Kim. What's the point of life if everything was perfect? Speaking of ChatGPT, I asked it if it knew the edutainer Aran Kim, and it explained it.
What?
And it explained like who I was, and it did a really good job. So it was so fascinating. I had a screenshot.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like Aran.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Aran Kim, the edutainer, is a well-known like I don't know content creator in Korea that does this and this. I'm like, wow, that is me. I'm like, that blew my mind.
Like, you know, like,
It probably did a better job than than me trying to explain what I do.
our nickname on YouTube is a risk couple.
Because it's Aran and Chris.
He even knew who
A risk couple
is.
was.
Wow.
Yeah, because I asked, hey, like teach me about a risk couple on Aran TV, and it's like, oh, they're an international couple that does like funny videos together and like I don't know stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, this is so fun. If it doesn't know something that you ask about, you can teach it.
Yeah.
Then it learns
Then it
with
knows
you.
who you
Yeah.
are, so
Then
somebody
it
else
remembers.
asks it,
Right.
what
Yeah.
I want to know how big the server is that ChatGPT uses.
Well, they're expanding it.
I would write an email or something and ask it like, how does it sound? Make it more professional or like make it more kind. And they tell me like, oh, it sounds like you care for this person. It sounds sweet. Like, yeah, and it like kind of reassures me like, okay, like what I wrote is good. Yeah, and like tell me if there's any error in it, and they tell me. So I've been taking advantage of it. And plus, I can use both languages in the same sentence. Like I can use Korean and English in the same sentence. What does 대박 mean? Or something, then they would explain it to me in whatever language I asked it. So it was super helpful, especially because I teach both languages.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so I usually go to Chris and like, hey, proofread this and make sure everything's correct and everything. But then ChatGPT kind of replaced Chris. Chris is happy about that. All Chris says is like, okay, it looks good, perfect, cool, like go for it. But ChatGPT tells me like all these details, like, oh, because you said this, it sounds like you care for this person. Because you said this, you sound really nice. Or like, because you said this, it sounds like you're taking responsibility. And like, oh, nice. Like, I don't know. I can say the correct sentence, but I want to know like how it's going to be received. Which, I mean, ChatGPT doesn't always have the answer.
Yeah.
But I'm like, am I the only one who's thinking this? But when ChatGPT says like, hey, I agree, like, ooh, I feel relieved. And I have like confidence to send it to whoever I talk to.
It was like built for you. ChatGPT
Aw,
was built
it's
for you.
built for me.
It's built for Aran. Like, here you go, Aran.
But what's crazy is you can ask the same question, but they answer it differently depending on what language you asked in. So you can ask, 독도가 누구 나라 땅이야? Which is like, what country is Dokdo Island a part of?
Yeah.
Then because I asked it in Korean, they'll say it's Korea's land. But if you ask it in Japanese, I heard that they would say that it's Japanese land.
Also has like interpersonal skills.
Yeah,
too.
so like, what the?
Japanese land.
Yeah, like, what?
Yeah, it's like a
so like they
disputed
know
island
how to
between
please
Japan
you
and
and how to make you trust them. So yeah, that was like, that's kind of
So
interesting. I think Google is kind of the same way. Like it shows you what you look for.
Yeah, so you
Like
have to learn
it
how to
like
ask
reinforces your
in
information
an
and your
unbiased
beliefs.
manner. So you should ask it that question in English.
Yeah, like neutral. Yeah,
Yeah.
no bias.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I would probably go ahead and ask it later and see what they say.
독도는 일본과 한국 모두 관심을 가지고 있는 땅입니다. 영토 분쟁이 있기 때문에 이 문제는 논란의 여지가 있는 문제입니다.
I recently renewed my website and I had to do a lot of writing to explain what my vision was, like what these courses are for and like all these things, and I was so overwhelmed because I just had to write so much and I'm like, oh, what vocabulary do I want to use? And you know, and my friend was like, just have ChatGPT write it for you. I'm like, what? Do you think it's gonna write it better than me? And like she's like, yeah. So I think it's pretty incredible.
You can tell if an AI wrote the
Wow.
Really?
I can tell, and if it is, then what it will do is it'll actually mark you down for that. So the
Wow.
the trick with using ChatGPT or any of these things is when you have it spit out, personalize it to your own voice.
Oh, you twist it a little
Personalize
bit.
things to your own voice. You add your own stuff. You add your uniqueness to it, and then you publish it. And so that way you get all the benefits of the SEO, right?
Mhm.
And all of that, and it doesn't look at it as something that an artificial intelligence did. It
Oh.
can't tell if you personalize it. But if you
Oh, it's
make-
crazy how Google can tell if it was written by an
Isn't that
AI or a
amazing? I would've never
human.
thought. So all these content creators, a lot of them are going to do that.
Yeah, ChatGPT is not gonna like talk for you, and it's not gonna have a voice and build relationships for you. So,
You know,
but I wonder how it's gonna like take us, because I remember my parents driving and literally looking at like a physical map.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but like kids these days, they would
They wouldn't
not
know.
believe
They
it.
wouldn't even
You know,
know.
they wouldn't even know the concept of like
Of the
looking at the
100
map while driving, because you know you have the screen, you have your phone. So I wonder like what's gonna happen in 10 years, and like what's gonna be normal. Like, you know, it's so common to say like, oh, just Google it, ask Google. And now like what is gonna
Well, that's
happen?
what people like short form.
Yeah. What's the point of life if everything was perfect?
Exactly.
And nothing to solve, nothing to
Yeah, and the way that
experiment. It's gonna be boring.
yeah, the
Yeah.
way that the brain is made is that happiness
I feel like you wouldn't grow
Is-
either.
I know you wouldn't grow. Like, what's the
suffering
meat? Like,
towards some sort of goal. So if you don't have any goal to
you wouldn't
suffer
have a
towards,
goal, and you wouldn't have
then how
meaning
you-
and
how are you happy?
accomplishments.
And then you have no contrast. Think about that.
Yeah.
Because everything's perfect, you have nothing to contrast it with. So it's almost like
You wouldn't be able to appreciate anything.
you couldn't.
Right.
That's what
You don't
happens with
appreciate
antidepressant.
anything.
미국인 3명과 제가 나눈 실전 영어 대화 흥미롭게 들으셨나요? 처음부터 다시 듣고 영어 자막만 보면서 이해해보시고 그 다음 또 들으면서 귀로만 듣고 이해해보시고 한 번 더 들으면서 입으로도 따라해보세요. 반복해서 들으시면서 여러 가지 어휘와 표현 얻어가시길 바랍니다. 영어는 역시 아란 잉글리쉬 www.aran.com